A very, very important concept that I wanted to talk about real early in the course is the idea of the three-legged stool. And it's so important because it's been a philosophy for a long time and it's really broken. And it's something you need to be aware of and be able to adapt and change to it. And some things are happening right now in the media and the markets that might lead you astray. But first off, well, what is the three-legged stool? It's really an investment philosophy where you have three main legs of investing, especially if you think about long-term investments such as, let's say, saving for retirement. Let's use that as an example, saving for retirement. So you've got a stool, and to make the stool stand up or to be successful as a stool is you need three legs on it, right? If you had one leg or two legs, the stool falls over, yes? So the three legs of the stool are employer pensions, government programs, and your own investments. Those are the three legs of a stool that make up a portfolio, make up your overall investments. The idea is if you do these things or you enjoy these things, things are going to be great and you'll be able to retire and all these wonderful things. Here's the problem, is each of these areas have struggles with them. Let's look at each one in turn. So for example, employer pensions. And pensions have been around for many years. It was first created in order to attract people to come work for you, right? The original use of pensions was, oh, I'll give you this money that you can later use for retirement, an income stream for retirement if you come work for me for many years, 10, 20, 30 years, where people worked maybe their whole careers at one place and they retired with a pension. They got in the United States, it was like you got a watch and you got your pension and everything was wonderful and great. The problem is the companies have been struggling to maintain their pensions, and many companies, most all companies now, have gotten rid of their pensions, or even after people have spent many years earning pensions, they've cut the payout on those pensions that those companies are providing to their former employees. And it's really been a challenging thing. So that whole idea of pensions has really gone away. If you're a younger person right now, a millennial, Gen X, or even when I first started in the workforce, there was a little bit talking about pensions, but we knew it was going away, and they're pretty much not offered very much at all, depending on maybe your part of the world or where you're from. But understand, employer pensions are almost gone, if not completely gone, and they're very, very risky for those that do have them. Some government employee pensions, like for fire, police, school, you have government tax money coming in. They might be buttressed a little bit better, but think of like an auto manufacturer, like in the United States, like Ford or General Motors. Maintaining those large pension bases is hard for them. So that part of the stool is broken. You can't rely on employee pensions. All right, well, you got government programs, right? United States, that'd be Social Security is a government program. I'm sure that's really reliable, right? No worries about that. But what are we seeing in all over the world? Cutting back, austerity measures, things that are, thoughts of reducing the amount of payout for, government programs or pensions too, like Social Security. So not only is your employer pensions going away or struggling, your government payouts are going to be struggling going to the future, where they'll have reduced payouts, especially if they're not keeping up with the rise of inflation. So now two legs of the stool are very much in jeopardy. And then the third part of the stool is your investments. And that's where, that's up to you. That's your investment. So the more you invest and the more that you get a better return on your investments, that's a third leg that really helps, prop up the stool. In the old days, not too long ago, was you really relied on employee pensions and the government Social Security or other types of government programs, and then you had investments kind of for fun time or maybe to have a little extra. Now, with those other two going away, the bulk of your investments, your three-legged stool, has become a one-legged stool that needs to be very successful and is really delicately balanced, which is your investments. And that's the big part of this course, is to help you be successful on that. I know when I started my investment journey, I looked at it like, I'm not counting on any kind of pension because I wasn't eligible for any pensions, and I'm an older guy. So young folks, don't count on those. Government programs, Social Security, I can't rely on that. If I get it, I look at it, that's a bonus, it's a nice little extra, but I'm not going to rely on a government program. I'm going to rely on my investments. Any of those other things with government or pensions, well, those are bonuses and those are extras. And that's how I would encourage you to look at it as well, because those other things are not guaranteed. Only thing that's guaranteed is your savings rate, your investment return, your behaviors, your stick-to-itiveness to grow your investments. Now, around the markets, maybe I'm not even sure they phrase it this way, maybe it's some of my own phrasing, but I almost look at it, there's a four-legged and a five-legged stool, and some things that you got to be aware of around those things too. So our three-legged stool, we've got employer pensions, government programs, your investments. The fourth leg would be, how about your house? You got this house, maybe it's you've paid off your house, maybe down the road, and the idea is that you have this asset, this appreciating asset, and you can sell this house and you can downsize and, I can fund my retirement with my home. And that's a strategy that you can do. And maybe it helps a little bit. The problem with the home is, one is home rising in value is not necessarily a guaranteed thing, and it certainly might not keep up with inflation. And also homes can go down in value. We experienced that during the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, where home values were kind of in a bubble in many parts of the world, and then they really decreased dramatically in value, putting folks that really relied on that part of the stool, a four-legged stool, at risk. So many folks will invest a lot in their house and be house rich and cash poor. I have all my money tied up there. But then when they want to, let's say, liquidate that asset at, say, retirement, and they want to downsize, it'd be like, is that my dream? Do I want to downsize that much to help fund my retirement? Is that going to be enough to fund my retirement? Is my home rising in value fast enough? Is it rising fast enough in comparison to inflation? May or may not be. Certainly not rising as fast as even things like bonds or stocks or other types of investments over the long term. And you have to live somewhere. And you might be, even when you're downsized in the future, you might want to live in an area that's more expensive, even a smaller home. So that whole idea of the conventional wisdom of I'll downsize and that'll help fund my retirement or fund my dreams, it's not necessarily a good idea, and that won't necessarily be successful. Everybody's situation is different, but I want you to really think about that closely and understand that other investments and having a diversity, having diversification is real important on that, and not rely on any one thing. I feel for folks that are really relying on, let's say, a pension from an employer, and are now facing a stark reality where that's pretty much gone. Think of if your housing all of a sudden, for whatever reason, plummeted in value. Now where are you? Now you're stuck. So, four-legged stool? No, not so much. You're still once again putting investments. So what we need is a fifth leg, and this is something that's been really getting a lot of plays in the media lately. Is the fifth leg, and I know others talk about. I'm looking at it this way, but everybody's talking about working longer. Have you heard about that? People say, "Oh, you're having a hard time, maybe reaching your retirement goals. You didn't get the returns you want. You didn't start saving early enough." Don't worry. As you continue to invest, things grow. There is time you might need to put in more, but you'll learn some concepts here that in this course that help you with that. But certainly the longer time horizon you have, the better. But the idea is, you can just work longer. And that way you don't have to start drawing from your retirement funds, as an example. You'll be actually contributing longer to them. So don't retire at, let's say, don't early retire, let's say at 50. Certainly don't do that, or younger. Or certainly don't retire at 62 or 67. A traditional retirement age in the United States, for example, is 67. Maybe work till you're 70, 75. Think of all the time you can put off and all that money you can use to build up your retirement savings. Sounds like a good idea. Maybe makes sense from, you're not tapping your nest egg. That's certainly true. But let me ask you, is that your dream? Is your dream to work till you're 70, 75? It may be. Some people love their profession so much they couldn't imagine doing anything other than working in their profession. If you're one of the few who enjoy that, I congratulate you and admire you for that success. I enjoy what I do tremendously, but I also enjoy things like travel, and I also enjoy things I want to do with my family that involve not working. So I don't want to rely on that leg of the stool, and I don't want to kind of box myself in where I have to work to do that. I want to save money and invest, and so I have options. I want to be financially independent. I want that to, you to be financially independent as well. That's my hope for you. Another thing that I've seen out there with folks around the working is, are you physically able to do it? Let alone mentally able to do it, but are you physically able to do it? Now, white-collar jobs, going to an office, going through traffic, that's mentally challenging, but I also think about some of the folks that are doing physical jobs, real, construction or jobs that involve a lot of physical activity, a lot of standing, a lot of lifting, those types of things. When you're 70, 75, are you going to be wanting to do that? Can you do that? What if an unforeseen illness or something happens, and no matter what work you have, you have a hard time doing that job or securing employment for that job? The idea of this whole working longer is an idea that makes sense on paper, but doesn't necessarily make sense into your own dreams and goals. And you might have obstacles that come along the way, from health to a job, getting the job in a certain field, whatever it might be, as the world turns. So think about that too, as far as that fifth leg of the stool. I recommend, once again, being in control of yourself, being in control of your own investments, and understanding, how you can give yourself options. Remember, the industry for the financial industry, think about the benefit for them if they encourage you to work longer, right? If you work longer, that means you can put more money into your savings for a longer period of time. You're not withdrawing. That means you can buy more of their products, consulting advice, buying mutual funds, things that make them money. Nothing wrong with that for them, but it's not really there for you. It's not really the idea for you. The idea for you is financial independence, and then you can choose what you want to do. For example, for me, I teach part-time in a local university. I do that because I enjoy it. I get paid a little extra money, not much, but I get paid a little extra money. And I do it and I enjoy it. And I could foresee myself in retirement or fully retired and traveling and doing all the things I want to do, where I might teach a little bit also on the side because it's fun, keeps my mind sharp, and I engage with young people. And I, as you can tell, I like teaching, and that's why I'm doing stuff on Udemy. So it's something I enjoy. But I'm not doing it because I need the money. I'm doing it because it's something I want to do. And that's what I want for you. So take this early lesson, a little bit longer, I get it. All the lessons won't be as long, but the idea of this, hey, don't worry, things are okay with government programs, pensions, you could work longer, use your house as an asset, are all very dangerous things. And investments is what's going to help give you that financial independence and really give you options. If you get those other 4 things, great. They're an extra bonus. If you're doing a part-time job in retirement because it's fun, great, you get some extra money. Certainly takes pressure off stuff, but don't put yourself in a position where, gosh, I have to do this at 70, 75 years old. All right, let's move on and let's really dive into the course.